Welcome to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, where we talk about what true self-care looks and feels like. I'm your host, Kathy Love, 2-time TEDx speaker, author, and self-care coach. Each week, we'll have honest conversations on how to create the peace and stability we crave in our lives. Jennifer Chapman is a coach, speaker, and stroke survivor who helps high-performing leaders get out of their own way and lead from within. She's got a powerful personal story, and a heart for helping people navigate change with more clarity, confidence, and self-trust. She's also the founder of Just Commit Coaching and is all about making mindset work feel real and doable. And Jennifer Chapman is also a good friend of mine, and I am so happy to have her here today. So thank you, Jennifer. This is so exciting for me.
Hey, this is so exciting for me because I'm so grateful not only for our friendship and the fact that you manifested this on a call with me like 90 days ago, that you were like, I'm going to do a podcast. And here we are today.
And here you are watching me make this up as I go. And just like I said, okay, I'm going to do the intro and then I'll stop, but just went right into it. And so I love that you're adaptable and going with the flow with me. So yeah, you and I have had some really deep, long conversations that are always in some form or another about some aspect of self-care, whether it's physical or mental, emotional, relationship, whatever it is. And I always enjoy them so much. Your specialty of resilience and adaptability is especially important to me, having been through a lot of situations in my life that I understand the importance of building that. But I wanted to talk today and really focus on the adaptability part. I think people talk about resilience a lot. We hear that a lot, but not adaptability. So can you tell us a little bit about why that word is so important to you in your story and in what you do?
Yes. And I'm so thankful that throughout the conversations that you and I have had, not only over the last year, the last few months, and a conversation that I had with a person that I met really recently and sharing bits and pieces of my story, that he identified that as a word. For me, it wasn't always a word that I thought was necessarily a strength of mine, although I know that it is on some logical level. And I remember telling you literally 2-3 weeks ago, I shared a story with you that I had not shared in 20 years. And I'll lead with that now, because it really is such a great specific example of really how it was, how I first learned about the word adaptability. And I was in middle school, and I grew up playing tennis. I was very competitive, avid tennis player, played it year round for many, many years. And it was in middle school that I attended this, I'm in Indianapolis. So, 5 to 6 months out of the year, we're playing indoors.
Right.
And so it was an indoor clinic that I would go to 3 or 4 times a week. And on a Saturday morning, there's about 50 or 60 kids in the clinic on Saturdays. And I remember the main coach said, Jennifer, I'm going to have you stand up in front of the group. And I have no idea what's next. So I do. And he said, when you think of Jennifer, what do you think of her when it comes to strengths as a tennis player? What do you think is our strengths of hers? And so kids are raising their hand and saying, she's got a great serve. She's fast and quick on the court. She's a good volley player. I'm a lefty, so that's a uniqueness in and of itself. So, a few answers go around, and the coach says, when I think of Jennifer, the number one strength I think of when it comes to her is adaptability. She adapts to the weather, right? When we're playing outdoors, whether it's 90 degrees, whether it's 45 degrees, whether it's really windy, she adapts to, her competitors and, rises up and just really knows how to adapt to her circumstances. And that as I quickly shared that story with you, all the other bigger examples in my life showed up of how I've adapted to the really hard that has come my way.
So I definitely want you to tell more about how you've adapted in your life and how it can apply to other people. But I also have a big question for you as to whether you believe that adaptability is inherent, it's that you're born with it. Like you were showing these signs of adaptability, of the ability to adapt at a young age, or can it be taught? Is it something that we can learn from life experience or coaches or people around us?
Such a great question, Kathy. I think it can be taught. And I think a big piece of being taught is wanting it, like wanting to be open enough to know whatever's you're doing right now, you are aware enough to know it's not working for you. And the biggest resistance we all have, it's an internal resistance because we're all built for protection. And it's trying to hone us in from the unknown, right? That's the biggest fight we have is internally. And I don't know if I understood that I was great at that at a young age because I did experience a traumatic event as a young kid. And it wasn't until, you know, age 34 when I suffered another traumatic event of surviving a massive stroke while I was in corporate sales and really understanding I did not know that I was learning how to adapt to that because it didn't feel like I was in the moment because there was a lot of fear of letting go of something that I was still trying to hold on to, which was about a year later when I had this kind of epiphany when I worked with my first coach. And I could feel internally I wanted to hold on to this version of myself that was no longer there. And I think we all do that when something major happens. We want to just hold on to what was. And through working with a coach, having the permission that I didn't know I needed to say, oh, I can let go of her because now I've got a new and improved, better version of me wanting to show up.
It's so much of the adaptability is really part of the self-care. And it's reminding me of the conversations we have with healing from codependency when it feels like it's just who you are. It can be learned or behaviors can be unlearned. And so I love the idea that adaptability is just one of those things. It may be something we weren't taught, or we were taught a certain response or reaction to life circumstances, but working with a coach or working in some capacity on yourself and wanting it. I love that. You have to want to do any of this work because if you don't, it can be hard. The more you want it, the more fun it gets because it becomes more of a challenge, more of a puzzle piece kind of thing. But I love that you qualified that you need to want it.
And as you said that, not only the more fun it becomes, the easier it becomes. We are resisting we are fighting so much to stay what we think is comfortable, right? Because the brain likes what's comfortable. And so if you're in a state of survival, your brain thinks that's comfortable because you've been in it for so long. And so once you wake up to, ooh, this no longer this hurts too much. I know this is no longer serving me. I don't know where to go or what to do or who, but as long as you start to ask yourself those questions, it doesn't feel so hard. Like that's the first step to growth and pivoting and exploring and starting to kind of question what else is out there. And that's just what I think of when you said that is I see so many women, both men and women, mostly women, just because those are the people that I work with. That's that like common phrase that we continuously hear is like stuck. Well, if
Mhm.
you realize you feel that, you're no longer stuck. So then it's starting to explore being curious. And I think I didn't know that I had such the curiosity muscle at a young age, and I actually did.
And there's a quote about that, about the quality of your life is in relation to the questions that you ask. So I love that. And the whole part about clinging on to an identity. And I hadn't thought about that with you and post stroke of how that would impact you. But, a lot of people, a lot of women going through transitions of divorce have to let go of the identity of being married or um, losing a job and being employed. When we're really in the codependency, we are so tied to that outer identity that it's such a struggle. As we heal, we begin to really just know that we are who we are, no matter what we're wearing, what we're driving, which job we have, which relationship we're in. We're still the same. And so I appreciate you all extending that into the relationship with post a physical event.
Yeah, thank you. And feeding off that, I spoke to a group last week, and I share this because I think this is one of the most foundational questions that we can ask one another and the people around us. And it feeds off what you said about identity is, it was a group exercise at the end of my talk. And I said, you have to know who you are outside of what you do.
Mhm.
And so when I first asked you, when I asked the group, who are you? Write down what you would say, right? What are the first few things that you would say, right? And then I gave them a few seconds and I said, okay, who wrote down wife, mom, dad, brother, and the title of what you do at the company you work with? And most everybody raised their hand. I said, those are all titles. Those are you. So many people I see identify with those roles that they play. And then when something changes, then they feel lost because they don't identify that. And the biggest role that most women play are moms. It is the most important role that you play. And yet when I see, and I've talked to women whose kids go off to college or go off to the next season of their life, how many women now feel lost and don't know who they are?
Yes. Yeah, I used to always answer that question. When someone would say, "How are you?" I would go through how each of my kids is
Interesting.
and how my job is and how my, relationship is. And now in my healing era, when someone asks me how I am, I tell them how I am,
Mm.
and I tell them the things I'm doing, projects or hobbies or whatever I'm excited about. And then I may add in some things about how the family is, but it's a major shift.
And
And
just when you say it right now, it's nourishing and affirming to us. Yeah, that's who we are. That's how I am.
but
That's
I
who I
didn't know, right? I didn't know how to answer that question. I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have anything that excited me to talk about. And that was such a huge gift for myself to find out what made me happy.
That's powerful, Kathy. And I hope more women can hear conversations like this and it gets their wheels turning and creates a shift in them internally of like, yeah, who am I outside of all these roles that I play and the work that I do, which is all important. And it could change at any moment. And then what? Again, it ties very well into this topic of can you adapt to
So,
all the things that change that you potentially don't have any control over either, by the way.
right, which most things we don't.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why when somebody asked me yesterday how my kids were, and I said, "They're great right now," because that can change at any moment. There's nothing I can do to control that, and I appreciate the times when things are going well. But how do you how do you help someone build their adaptability?
Asking questions, and it's really powerful when women give themselves the space to be with themselves when the questions get asked. Because most of them are able to identify, what am I resisting? What's happening that I'm resisting versus let be, let happen? A lot of times it comes to feeling too. Because I remember, well, man, not every time, usually every time I speak, usually in a coaching container, emotions come up and women fight them. And it's like, what are you resisting? Why are you resisting? Because there's a protection there, right? And it costs you something. A lot of times it's your energy. I remember the first time I said yes to working with a coach in 2008. And Kathy, most sessions I would cry and I would fight it because I would tell her, I'm done doing this. I do not want to, I'm done crying at her. I can't do it. And the more you fight it, the more it hurts. It hurts to hold it in. Because what? I'm trying to make someone else feel comfortable? Or just because I'm done, your body's going to tell you you're not done. And so really, it's an honor for me as a coach to give those women permission, if that's what they're resisting, is usually feelings of that. That's all. It's being human. We're meant to feel all these things. And yet we've been potentially trained or hardwired, or as, in our upbringings, to not do those things. So now as adults, everybody's out there fighting for their lives because they're scared to show their authenticity and the full range of human emotion. That's such a huge part of it.
It's very accurate too. I think there are so many people who are struggling right now and they don't know what to do with that emotion. They're not used to, I guess they're not, part of it is that they're not used to it and they don't necessarily know where to go with it. What about the adaptability in your, like post stroke? Having a stroke at age 34 is a very scary idea, and it's something that you lived through and that you've been processing through since, right? But what were the biggest ways that you found that adaptability coming in, to really make a difference for you?
It's fascinating when it comes to stroke, because that part of your brain's not really it's protecting you for a very long time, which I remember a therapist telling me that when I was still going through like my PT and my OT and my speech, because I had to do that for about 5 months after my stroke. And I told her, I was like, this is weird. I cannot cry. I cannot cry if I tried. And she said, your brain, and I go, normally pre-stroke, girl with a heart on her sleeves, that is me. And I was like, this is weird. I feels like I could, and nothing comes out. And she's like, your brain's protecting you right now. It's healing, and it's allowing you to do this part of your recovery, which was such a gift, because it allowed my competitiveness to shine through when it came to the physical rehab piece of it. And then it was really working with a coach to build trust with her, for someone outside of my friends and family to say everything's okay. Not that my friends' family didn't say that. I don't know if I just didn't want to hear it or process it that way, but it was this outside, non-biased, non-judgmental person give me space and allow me to like fully process. And honestly, Kathy, I didn't know this then. It's coming up for me now. And it has the last couple of years. It allowed me to build trust back with myself.
Mm-hmm. As soon as you said build the trust in her, I wondered what the connection was to the self-trust.
That's it.
Right.
And literally these last 2-3 years, I've established trust as my core number one value, because for so long I looked for it outside of myself. So I was allowed, asking myself the question, why am I not trusting myself first? I'm really good at building trust with everyone else. And that also is my strength and why I was so successful in sales. My whole corporate career was building trust. I just didn't know until not that long ago that everything is a mirror for us. And I wasn't looking until recently. So once I looked, it was like, and it's really affirming every day that when I can acknowledge that I'm building that trust muscle within me.
Do you think you were avoiding looking because of fear again? Do you think it
Oh,
was part of that cycle?
yeah, I do. And I think a lot of people are scared to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first question I asked when I spoke last week to WebMD. Awesome group, awesome company, awesome culture. And my invitation was to them, and I know this now, is saying, I'm holding up a mirror for you today, and I'm asking you to look. Are you willing? A lot of us look in the mirror every day. Do we see ourselves in the mirror every day versus judge ourselves in the mirror every day?
That's a great question.
What I remember last year, similar type of topic and conversation. When I asked that, a woman broke down. And then, because she knew she hadn't done that for so long, and then accepted my invitation to do that over the weekend. And then it gives me chills to think about it. This woman has worked at this company I think she's since retired, but worked this company for 40 years. Everyone loved her. Everyone said that in the room. They loved this woman. I don't know if she fully ever received that love from them. And she didn't have a great relationship at home with her partner. And looked in the mirror over the weekend, messaged me on Monday and said, I hadn't seen myself in 40 years. And she cried, probably both happy and unhappy tears, but just a lot of built up emotion came out because she allowed herself to see herself. It was powerful.
Wow. That sounds it. Yeah, that willingness is such a huge piece. And I guess it's dependent on our trust in ourselves, that we can handle it, that we can handle what we see, that we can do the things we need to do once we see it, because you can't unsee certain things, right?
Yeah.
And I am in this energy healing class, and last week I came to see a block that I had that had to do with someone in my life. And it was very clear. But the question that got me was, are you willing to let go of it? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And so I understand, even though logically I knew it was something I needed to let go of, we really can sometimes hold on to things that don't serve us until we're willing to actually say, yes, let it go.
That's powerful
Yeah.
and so true.
If someone is feeling that they're not very adaptable, and a lot of people will say that they are not controlling, a lot of people won't recognize sometimes the controllingness in their actions or in their behaviors, in the way that they're handling relationships with other people in their lives. But that control, when we let go of the control, is when we can adapt, right? What would you suggest to people who are maybe questioning if they're really adaptable or not, or if they are feeling like they're rigid, maybe to a fault, and they don't really know where to start?
What comes up for me in this moment is the rigidity. It comes from a place of fear, whether it's fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being in control. Because even if it's no longer serving you, there is the safety aspect. At some part of you has believed that it is working for you. So it's building the self-awareness muscle, which is first and foremost, always and forever. If you build no other muscle in your life, the recent statistic that I saw is 85% of people think that they're self-aware. Only 15% of people are actually self-aware.
Wow.
And when I spoke that recently, I was like, 15% is a little generous. I mean, and a lot of people are not. And I can see that because I consider myself to be a pretty extremely self-aware human. And the question is like, are you choosing not to be? For what reason? A lot of people are scared to know, well, what if I become self-aware? I have to acknowledge maybe parts of me that I don't like. And it's like, it's part of the adaptability for me as I build my own adaptability muscles is becoming aware and accepting all parts of me. And a lot of people, judge externally because that's easier. Whatever you're judging externally with anyone else, again, a reflection straight back to you, which again builds a self-awareness muscle. Are you willing to look? What parts of you are you judging yourself for? That's holding you back from them kind of stepping into being more adaptable and accepting of all of who you are. Another thing that comes to mind that has taken me a really long time myself to put into practice is reacting versus responding. Because reacting comes from fear. Reacting comes from you being triggered. Because there's a part of you that's unhealed. Triggers are unhealed parts of us. And so it's really easy for us to point the finger at someone that has triggered us. Usually it's someone we potentially love a whole lot. And it would be really easy for me to say, he or she upset me. No one can do that to you unless you give them the power of doing that to you. So it's really taking ownership of someone triggering your trigger. So it's doing that work too. And and again, I would say it's no longer hard for me to say that, because if we say it's hard, it's going to be hard.
Right.
So it's really, I've been with my husband now 18 years. So it's been easy to want to say he's done this or he's made me feel this way. And now I'm able to, if there is a conflict or a disagreement or an argument or whatever that is, I immediately question what part of me is upset about this. Leaning in with curiosity versus immediately saying, he pissed me off or he upset me. No, what is it within me? That is healing work, Kathy. And it allows me, if I can pause, right, versus immediately react to something, if I can pause, breathe, take a moment, take 5 minutes, take a day, I then can come back with a response in a more healed and healthy way versus a version that I wouldn't be so proud of if I immediately reacted.
Yeah. So it's the deep accountability, acceptance, and then adaptability.
Yeah. 3 A's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have all of the parts.
You do.
And I love the way that you live it and teach it and make it sound possible. And all of this work is possible. It's sometimes not so pretty, but it's always possible. And I do think the more we do it, the easier it gets, the more fun it can be. And once we start to see the differences, the more motivating it gets to keep going and keep looking and just peeling those layers. Yeah.
It's like we've had to adapt for the last 5 years now to this constant change. And some people are better at it than others. And that shows who's good at it and who's not. But the best leaders are adaptable people. They trust the flow of whatever's going to happen next and that it's all going to be okay. So many people are living out of alignment and they don't even know it. That was literally my word for 2025. And kind of really just, you know, is, the decision I just made aligned with me right now. And it feels really good. Once I said yes to that, like 3 weeks ago, there was internal resistance for a week, 10 days, this emotional internal resistance of thinking that I've given up on this business, or, that I'm giving up on me, that and it's like, why am I resisting? I had a one-time call with this girl. She's a coach. The intention was not for that on this call, but she kind of coached me on the spot in the moment,
Right.
of like speaking from the resistance part and speaking from this a lot more aligned part of like, yeah, this feels good. This is okay. No one's going to judge me or criticize me, or I have nothing but love from every single human that is in my circle. And if they're not in my circle, right? It was like, okay, why am I? What is that about me? Once I like let go of that, it's felt good ever since. There's definitely a couple of good kind of quotes or things I would say that I believe could serve others that listen to this. I would say for me, being adaptable is one of the most underrated forms of self-care. It helps me stay rooted in who I am, because it hasn't been going with the flow in a disconnected way. It's about making more aligned decisions when things don't go according to plan, which they rarely do anyways. And so as I reflect back on my life, both personally and professionally, I've become more aligned with who I know I want to continuously become, versus fight something that is no longer serving me. And I would say the times in my life that I suffered the most weren't from what just happened. They were from how hard I fought to hold on to something that was no longer true, which is what I believe a lot of people are doing. And that feels hard. And if you think about what that is for you, it's energetically. Like your body's going to tell you how hard it actually feels. And so, as I say yes to a new opportunity that has an opportunity that has knocked on the door, I've opened it. And it's truthfully over the last couple of weeks been this roller coaster, and really kind of sitting with myself of like, what do I really want? It's okay, versus kind of fight or resist. Is this really possible for me? Am I worth it? Do I deserve this? And once I give myself the space to really acknowledge that and not look for anything external to give me that answer, man, it feels good to let go, trust my gut, and lean in and feel aligned, and trust the pivot.
So it's almost the opposite of thinking that being adaptable might be more difficult because you have to make changes, but you're saying, I'm hearing that it's almost more difficult to resist the change, and it can almost feel easier to make the adaptation and to make the changes and go with it instead of fighting against it.
100%.
That's amazing.
100%. Adaptability, use it as an edge for you. What are you resisting? What do you have conflict with? Because it's usually internal. It's just easy to point to the external.
And I just feel like the word adaptability is more accessible than resilience.
I like that.
It's like we're used to adapting, even if it's, a small thing, but resilience feels like it could feel like only certain people can be resilient.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah, that's true. It's true. It feels like potentially like overcoming. And obviously we know some incredibly resilient humans that have gone through such hard.
Yeah.
And I love that too. But it's like adaptability is universal, because damn, this is exciting. This is good. I love that you're doing this. I'm so grateful to be a guest on your show and just witness this alongside you. It's awesome. Motivating, it's inspiring, it's all the things.
So I will post all of your links and LinkedIn and your website and everything, but is there any other way or a specific way you'd like everybody to get in touch with you if they have questions or if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. My website is justcommitcoaching.com, and on there you can book a call with me and you can opt into my community. So I send out every other week, I send out in my Just Commit community, a note from me, journal prompts, upcoming, events and things that I have going on, just value. I try to just bring a lot of value there and hope that something in my message resonates with the people that have said yes to the community, and really, creating my business Just Commit. It is, I'm asking you to just commit to you, to one thing, to being 1% better, to knowing that it can feel easier than it feels potentially right now, to be who you want to be, because you are the only person that's going to get in your way of being who you want to be.
Yeah, I love your newsletters. Actually, it's one of a few that I'll read. And I love your LinkedIn Friday posts about celebrating the good things that happen, because we all keep those lists of the negative things, the things that went wrong all week, but you make us stop for a minute and celebrate something, no matter how small or big it is. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. And I've done the Friday posts for almost a year now, which is wild. And it's really cool to see some of the answers that I get for what people are celebrating, because it's hardly ever, I sold this, I landed a big client, I did the thing. It's more like, I honored my boundaries this week. I said no to someone this week. I gave myself time to rest this week and not go to the meeting, not go to the coffee, not go to the event. Like, just some really cool answers of celebrating who they are, not for what they do always.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for being here. This is some good self-care shit. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. I love it.
Love our conversations, and I will see you Saturday morning for our weekly talk.
Much love, my friend.
Great job making time for yourself today. Be sure to subscribe to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, wherever you listen in. Your 5-star review will help get this show to whoever needs to hear it. Go grab your free daily self-care checklist on my selfcareshit.com. Please take the last minute of this podcast for yourself to listen to the ocean waves and breathe.